everybody, I'm Allie, this is Sedona, and today we are going to be going over the basics. This is some basic vocabulary about saddles as well as what those pesky buttons are. Okay, number one, this is a Western saddle. Now this particular saddle is a what you would call a ranch saddle or a sorting saddle, also known as a cutting saddle. The way we know this is it actually has a horn that is meant to be held. So it has some parts to the saddle. So here's our parts to the saddle. This top right here, this is called the pommel, and this is the horn. This right here is called the jockey. This is the skirt. This is the cantle, and this is the seat. This is the second skirt, or the lower skirt. This is the back cinch. This is overall the front cinch, okay, especially this part. This part right here is called the latigo. Now, when we're talking about buttons, what are the buttons? Buttons 1, 2, and 3. What they correlate to is parts of the horse. So, from the middle of your saddle forward on this part is called the forehand, also called the forequarters, also called the shoulders. Down the middle, right here, this part is the rib cage, but it's also known as the barrel of the horse. That's button number 2. This, from the end of the saddle all the way through the back, that's the haunches, hindquarters, or hind end. You will hear those talked about, but that's also button number 3. So now let's talk about the buttons. Now what the buttons correlate to is positions of the stirrups, 1, 2, and 3. Now this is the girth. When we talk about button number 2, that is going to be at the girth. Now we have a back girth or a back cinch on this saddle. Button number 3 is going to be right here in front of the back cinch. That moves the hindquarters, the back end. Button number 2 would move the entire barrel, push the horse over. Button number 2 on both sides makes the horse go forward. Now button number 1 is right here in front of the girth, okay? So that's going to move the shoulder. So your feet are going to give those same signals in the saddle as well as on the ground using that. So that's the basic buttons explained. You need to be able to move your horse on the ground as well as in the saddle using the buttons. So your body position, if you want to move button number 1, has got to incorporate the way that you have your bridle. Here we have a bitless bridle. This is a basic side pull. You can also correlate this to a snaffle bit if you were using a snaffle. We just have a roping rein, which is a singular rein. We're going to go over the saddle horn for this exercise. So with the direct reining is when we pull the horse directly to us. Indirect rein is when we push against the horse and it indirectly pushes away from pressure. Remember, horses don't know what they're doing by the application of pressure. It is the release of pressure. So we're going to have pressure when we ask for button number 1. So we're going to use indirect pressure on the rein and direct pressure asking button number 1 until we get a crossover step. So let's go cross, and there's the cross. We want the horse's legs to cross over and go away from us when we are using button number 1 on the ground. Now let's talk about button number 3, which is going to be behind the girth area and in front of your back cinch if you're using a back cinch. We're going to be moving the back end, so your toes need to be pointed that direction. Now with the nose will point towards you, the hind end will automatically point away. And we tap with button number 3, and we should get a crossover with those back legs. So again, we may have to tighten up here. We got to stop forward motion, but tip the nose towards you. So nose gets tipped. Come on. And add button number 3, and we should be able to have the horse yield the hindquarters. So I hope that helps you understand what the parts are and the basic buttons that we're going to be using on the ground and how it would correlate to once we're in the saddle. Thank you so much for joining us on today's lesson. And if you enjoyed it, give us a like. And if you haven't already, please subscribe. And remember, to see more, check out our playlists.